Realistic
monstrous.
Pac-Man is not what we need.
No, with the Pokemon-style basketball leathery skin and teeth.
No.
Yeah, good night, children.
Good night, adults as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sleep now.
Waka, waka, waka. But yeah.
I know where the ghosts were running away now. Hey, I'm Trista Bites with Antstream Gaming Talk, and today I have with me Matt, who is a director at Cheese Mint Productions.
Hello. Hello.
It's a name, isn't it? Cheese Mint.
It is.
I have to start with that, you know. Nothing about who you are as a person and how awesome you are with your work. Cheese Mint.
Yeah, my own personal history is irrelevant next to the name Cheese Mint. And interestingly, it has a very strong video game tie-in. We initially had, I think at one point, 6 members of the group. One of our group doesn't game. Absolutely not into gaming at all, never grew up with it, wasn't part of her world, and we were all big, heavy Xbox players at that point, and we would always be banging on about achievements and just go, yes, achievement! But we'd say it so quickly, maybe a little bit inebriated, a little drunk, and so it'd come out as like, cheese mint! And it's like, what's a cheese mint? It's like, no.
That's where this comes from.
That's literally where the name comes from.
A mishearing of Xbox achievements. I mean, you said it was gaming related. That wasn't where I thought you were going. But I thought you were going to say, there's this really interesting Easter egg that as a director I wanted to include in all of our filmic productions to do with this. I can't think of what it would be. A cheese-flavoured mint. And no,
well, no, see,
literally you were a bit drunk and you couldn't speak.
That's how most things get done.
Branding people, lessons on how to do it.
Yeah, if you sit there trying to think about your own company name for so long, we've been doing this since 2009 with that name. And again, it's memorable. People say, Cheese Mint, that's a really interesting name. Yeah, where'd you get that? And don't worry about it. Yeah.
Well, now everyone knows. We've spilled the beans. Cheese mint flavoured beans have been spilled here.
Tangy, fresh beans.
Yeah, don't try that at home.
No.
Or if you do, tell us how that went, if you survived.
Yeah, if you can wipe away the vomit long enough to type on the keyboards how it was, then let us know.
Yeah, we would be interested to know we don't actually want to know, but now I've asked and I can't unthink that statement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was not expecting that answer. You basically exist to surprise me at this point.
Yeah. Now, again, it sounds retroactively like a really positive, good thing. Like, say, oh, that's, again, start of the alphabet, something that's going to come up in a lot of searches. It's very unique and memorable. Nah, that's not how it goes. It's just things that have cropped in our life.
Mispronunciation
kind of pretty much
a normal word.
Yes.
I see. Well, there you go. You learn something new every day. If you're looking at how to brand your company, just have a night out and see what words someone else thinks you say.
I'm convinced that's how most companies came up with most things.
It's the only explanation for some branding, to be honest. So maybe we have actually hit on something there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you obviously direct a lot of web series. You've made a lot of stuff with a lot of influences from gaming and anime and Super Happy Kill Time being the one I know, because I'm in an episode of it.
She's exceptionally good.
It's not out yet.
No. In the future, she's exceptionally good.
So, spoilers. So this has been, a huge influence on your life, presumably, gaming.
Yeah, it's weird because my origin into gaming is, this isn't a sub-story, but it's kind of a sub-story. It's very...
Spoilers.
Well, it's a privileged sub-story in that I didn't get my first console until I was 12 years old. Now, that doesn't sound that bad. That's pretty normal.
I know, to me that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But as a kid, that feels like, I've been playing on my cousins and my friends' SNESes and Mega Drives and Master Systems and all kinds of stuff, and I didn't have one. And eventually, my first console was a PlayStation 1, which again, at the time...
It's a solid console.
It is a damn good console. It's defined...
It's got many more bits than, my first console had.
Yeah, and the thing is, it was a very eye-opening experience and really just changed everything, because before that I've been doing PC gaming, and by PC gaming I really mean Lemmings and really just very stuff like Solitaire, things that are already installed on things.
Minesweeper.
Very much so. Not understanding Minesweeper, just clicking and going, well, that's over, let me try again.
I don't think any of us understood Minesweeper. We just knew we hated it, but we were going to play it again.
Yeah, it was a game. Had a bomb in it. That must have been fun.
Yeah.
That's how it worked. I got into it late, arguably, but very, very formatively. And then, met a lot of my friends, the people I actually make these movies with and stuff. My wife is one of them, and she's had a long history of video games and stuff. We sort of bonded over that when we first met, amongst other things, like films and TV and other pop culture sort of stuff. But then when we started Cheese Mint,
which we now know. I can now not hear it without just thinking. You just go, Cheeseman.
Yeah. What happens is if we could somehow get Microsoft to sign off on it, Cheeseman would be prefaced with blink. I was like, Cheeseman. But basically, we wanted to do a web series. We did actually a music video for replicating Felicia Day's "Do You Want to Date My Avatar?" a music video, and we thought that'd be clever. And that, okay, in the early days of the internet, going viral meant 20,000 views, which was a really big thing. And we thought, this is brilliant. We should do this all the time. And we started writing a show about a kind of a Scott Pilgrim sort of thing, where it was people who existed in a video game world, and it wasn't just the idea that it was a fantastical, cool experience, what an amazing thing it would be. It'd be like the idea of like, imagine if somebody who didn't come from, or came from a world where swimming isn't a thing, and we're saying, oh, I go swimming. It's like, into the water? And you can move? It's like, yeah. How? It's like, I don't do it. I'm not going to bother doing that. I can physically do it, but I don't. It's the same thing with this video game. I was like, imagine if you had saves and you can go back and settle an argument by literally playing a save and saying, look, see? I could told you to do something. Yeah, okay, fine, moving on. Or you have an inventory where you store stuff so bags are almost irrelevant. This kind of stuff, but they're so background.
The TARDIS-like tiny backpacks.
Slots in your hand.
Yeah.
Sound like a weird thing to say, but yeah. That kind of stuff. And so having that world where these things are all kind of arbitrary and backgrounded, they don't really matter, but they still play games themselves, that sort of thing. And that series did really well for us. We learned a lot of lessons from doing that. Specifically, don't write a show where you're in it and you're filming it, because somehow you find out very quickly that there needs to be someone to hold the mic and operate the camera and act in front of everything.
Force powers and other such things. You thought you were in a game. You just thought the camera was going to
just do things for me.
Follow you.
Yeah.
You know?
Like in Forge mode in Halo, it would just follow you around, like all these amazing angles, and then realize no, someone has to stand there. And
now drone technology is catching up, and you're almost at the point where you can do that thing.
That is true. That's worryingly true. But yeah, so we always had this very cool spin on it, a nice cool angle, but we wanted to do something different with Super Happy Kill Time, taking the lessons we learned from the show and incorporating them into a different experience. And I started writing Super Happy Kill Time in one go. I wrote a treatment for 50 episodes in like a month.
So thinking small, starting with a nice, easy kind of,
again,
a nice, sensible amount of something to make 50 episodes.
Yeah, that's a normal thing to do, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we had to like, I think our initial ambition for Unlocked, which was this show about the gaming world, was to film it like a TV series. So 20-minute long episodes. And a huge sprawling cast, and we're using After Effects for the first time back in 2009 and 10 and stuff like that. So it was all very much a learning curve, and us being behind the camera and in front of the camera, and also being very insistent that we do things that TV doesn't. So it's like specifically getting very frustrated where we watch I think it was around the time the Big Bang Theory started up, and all of us just looking at them having Xbox controllers with no plug pack in it, and they're not on. And I know it's a silly little thing, but you look at this stuff and think, that's not real, that's not accurate. So we were like, no, if we're going to be playing games, we'll be playing games in the background. It was,
if it's going to be wrong, it has to be purposefully wrong. Like there's an episode, I think, of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where they've got the wrong controllers for the console shown. Like I've always assumed it was purposefully trolling the audience, because you had to go and get the wrong controllers. If it's not, I have questions, but yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of those sort of licensing things where they're like, well, if we show that and that, we can't get in trouble, because both of them are on screen at the same time, both being used wrong, I guess. Maybe. But yeah, so we learned all those lessons, applied them to Super Happy Kill Time, which again takes the same thing with anime. And even in this world, they still play video games. It's still a huge part of our life, therefore a part of these characters' lives, that kind of thing. Yeah. It's always just been there, really. I mean, film is my thing, very much through and through. My day job is working for an animation studio. I have been reviewing films professionally since 2004. I've been making films and stuff like that. But video games is where I go to unwind. Yeah. It's where I relax. It's where I genuinely get to absorb things. I don't have to worry about... I watch a film. I watch lots of films, obviously, but I'll watch them and I can't not critique them. I can't not just turn that off. Whereas with the game, I can just...
I understand that. Lots of people tell me to turn that mode off, but there's no
turning off.
There's no off button for this, yeah. I go to the cinema on my own now. That's not for social distancing, it's for my friend's sake.
For sanity finishes, yeah.
Basically. So I can understand that, but games are sort of the thing you can be the protagonist in, but without having to do the editing yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's nice to be taken on a different journey, be more involved. And games have that nice thing where, obviously, with cinema and with filmmaking, like web series or short films or movies, whatever it happens to be, we're telling you a story, right? We're giving you that thing at the pace that we control it at. But video games have a really interesting way of, I mean, you get the 2 or 3 ideas of, like, you've got a very arcade thing, which is telling a very minimal story of, like, one frame at the start saying, oh my God, Earth's been invaded. Go do stuff.
So-and-so's been kidnapped.
Exactly.
This is on fire. The princess is in another castle.
A really complicated story involves all of those.
Yes.
But now we're getting things like very cinematic, and this thing that's maybe the wrong wording. People use like cinematic games where you get like Last of Us and stuff like that, where it's like, well, yeah, but it just means you're still that level of involvement and still that level of direct projecting of yourself onto it. You have more of an experience of wanting to. I mean, I've been playing Stray recently. Stray would be an interesting film, but it'd be nothing compared to a game specifically, where I am in control of that cat, and I'm like, oh, please, just make this jump. I love you. Please don't.
Cats make games better. That's
do.
That's just it. Everything needs cats. This has become a
Yeah. Well, whereas if it was a film, I feel it'd be nice and it'd be very sweet, but I wouldn't get the same connection.
It would be. I think as a film, it would be something very short. But as a game, where you're controlling the pacing and the speed of it, and you're exploring and you're having that as a sort of first-person style, experience, and you're in the cat's shoes. Pause. I'm losing my metaphors here. That is something that has a very different kind of time scale on it, because the pacing isn't based on where you need a climax and a plot.
Yeah.
It's just based on when you feel like doing the plot rather than just finding some milk bottles to knock off a table.
No, I agree with that entirely. I also think because of the age when I was really getting into games specifically, that's dictated a lot of as well. My sort of outlook and view on the whole thing, because again, late SNES era. I could be. By the way, I could be like about to say something that's going to get me in a lot of trouble, and people go, how wrong you are.
What is this hot take opinion that you wish to leave here?
Well, it was more the idea when PC gaming and PlayStation stuff and late era SNES things had the ability to store more memory in terms of your saves and stuff. You could get more into a story of thing, like actual what we'd recognise as a cinematic narrative, rather than, as I say, something that's a bit more arcade based or a platformer based thing. It's really just the excuse to go do the thing, basically. So we
never knew why the invaders were spacing. We never knew why the defenders were defending.
The twist was we were the invaders all along. Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that could be it. We don't know. We never knew if Pac-Man ever sought any help for this dangerous pill addiction that was going on there,
Seeing ghosts and just going, I need to fill up, mate. Yeah.
Eating ghosts. I mean, it starts to get worrying,
Yeah.
Then it moved into 3D and he could jump over them. What does that mean in this metaphor?
It means more than we can imagine. But I think
it means I kept forgetting to jump and dying is what I think it meant.
Sounds about right. But I do think that if we were to inject story, because this is the problem with like translating video games to films. If you're saying, we're going to do a Pac-Man movie, it's like, don't do that. Because again, I don't know what that would look like, and I'm pretty
terrifying.
Yeah.
Realistic
monstrous.
Pac-Man is not what we need.
No. Oh, well, it's sort of like with the Pokemon-style basketball leathery skin and teeth.
No.
Yeah. Good night, children.
Good night, adults as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sleep now.
Waka waka waka. But yeah.
I know where the ghosts were running away now. Even after death, they still couldn't.
Again, twist. The ghosts weren't the villains on the end of it. They were just trying to get away from this
monstrous
creation.
Is this now you're just rewriting every retro gaming plot?
Probably, yes. Until someone clarifies.
Bub and Bob in Bubble Bobble now the bad guys.
Yes. Because they're bursting things and destroying. It's all destruction, so yes.
Yeah, Dig Dug I get, because that's clearly horrific. That's just one. What about Manic Miner? Are they just stealing resources from the land?
Well, now you've said it, that's exactly what it is.
An ecological message?
It's fracking, it's just,
That's what it is. It wasn't even invented at the time, and somehow they were commenting on it.
Someone was playing going, I could destroy the environment this way. It's like,
New Zealand Story, is that also evil?
Sure. Oregon Trail's probably evil.
Probably.
That's probably quite evil. Well, dysentery, so, yeah.
It's fairly evil. That one sort of explains itself, really.
That's true.
So, so we're the bad guys, you're saying?
Part of me wants to say no, but every bit of media I've ever absorbed, whether it's film, TV, books, or games, yeah, people are the worst. So
yeah, well, as an avid Tomb Raider fan, I can tell you that in the original Tomb Raider games, Lara is definitely the bad guy.
She is preserving no wildlife, no
dinosaurs aren't extinct, you say? I can fix that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, how do I get past this immense obstacle in my path? I just push it over. No one's ever coming through ever again. If you do, clack, clack.
I mean, it's Tomb Raider. It's not, Tomb History Preserver, isn't it?
Should it be? Should she be raiding the
This belongs in a museum. Not anymore.
No. But no, as I say, there's an interesting, speaking of Tomb Raider, interesting sort of parallel. So as a filmmaker and as a game player and as someone who made a series, as I say, in a video game world, there's always that temptation to say, this would make a good film. And again, the way we got round that was to literally say, no, you put it in the gaming world, but the struggles they go through are still the idea of there's some people they don't like, some who are a little bit like them. And there's a gaming tournament they want to get involved in, and the way it settles disputes is you have to get into this sort of situation when you end up in a Street Fighter-esque scenario. So there's no actual physical violence, you just, that sort of thing. But then you watch something like Tomb Raider, or Lara Croft Tomb Raider, I think it's officially called, and recently Uncharted and stuff like that. I mean, I do think like Detective Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff like that have been genuinely pretty decent. I wouldn't say they've been really good, but
they trade a lot of, this is really cute mascots. This is really nice, adorable thing.
Yeah.
And everyone likes Ryan Reynolds, so...
Let's not have him do a new voice Pikachu. Let's just have him do the same voice he's done for everything.
They could have made him do a voice, but I never hear anyone complaining about that.
Go on the internet. No, I was going to say that you're right. I think those things work and translate quite well. Whereas something like Uncharted, it was like the games are like so rich, and I love the Uncharted games, and I think there's a lot of stuff on offer there. But when you put it into a film environment, everyone just goes, it's fine. It's a bit of a lightweight Indiana Jones.
The game's about exploration, and you can't really spend like 17 hours of your movie just wandering around going, that's a really nicely rendered tree.
Yeah.
I'm going to climb that.
Yeah. And there's a kind of environmental storytelling through games that you don't get in films. It's like anything, any medium, you will always get strengths and weaknesses, which is kind of being, the gaps being bridged quite a bit. So with regards to Twitch streaming, the video game I'm playing, I'm having a very unique experience. It's my experience and that's my playthrough. But now that we're sharing it by streaming it online, suddenly it's like, no, I'm preserving it. Kind of like a film in a weird way, and a documentary way at least. So yeah, I think there's the lines between the two are blurring more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I do hope nobody uses my footage of me playing Alien Isolation in any kind of documentary way, because it's just me screaming and hiding in a cupboard for 45 hours.
It's a fear documentary. It's about how people process things that they're afraid of that aren't real, and I think that's entirely
There's a lot of high-pitched noises. It's not one to watch with dogs in the room, because I'm just hiding in cupboards, squeaking.
Spinning on a
so I think
chair.
how cinematic these experiences are, your mileage may vary.
That's true, that's true.
So which things from games specifically got kind of included in your web series and in your films and things you've made?
So, I mean, over the years, this is a very strange parallel, but in Unlock specifically, we had the idea that, it's going to sound very strange, in the second series, we decided that two characters would upgrade by getting married and having kids. And their attitude was literally, it's like, well, where do babies come from? It's like, how often have you seen childbirth in video games that isn't a Kojima production?
Or some weird Sims.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's exactly what we sort of drew on, the idea that one day you say, enter baby, and then a baby appears, and then suddenly it's a toddler, then suddenly it's an adult. And you're like, oh, hello. And we decided that was how this video game environment worked. So these two characters decided, we're going to have a baby now, and then this thing was just floating. It's like an 8-bit character floating in a cot. And in that moment, because they weren't paying attention because they were playing a video game, they decided, like, we'll just ignore this baby, and it's got above its head Paragon or Renegade, sort of Mass Effect style, like, right, where's my alignment going? oh no. And it just becomes an evil baby. And then within a week, it's grown to a full adult. Like, oh, you've grown up and decided how you're going to look now. You know, you're statted up, and you've, in the classic, like, you know, Fallout way, go to a room, look in a mirror, go, and then suddenly look entirely different.
Yeah, mohawk, long hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Just change it.
It's the reveal in like Elden Ring, when you turn around and it's like, ah! It's like, oh, that is a choice.
Yes.
So
Several choices, all at the same time.
Yeah, give me all. Scrolling to the end as far as possible. And then this character became purely evil and started modding and hacking the environment of the game itself. And the idea that in that kind of world, what's a crime? It's like, obviously, yes, murder doesn't really exist because there's regenerating lives.
Yeah.
So cheat codes are crimes, and modding games is like the absolute, you cannot do that, you're changing the fabric of reality kind of thing. So hacking into dot screens.
Don't change the fabric of reality, kids.
Don't all do it, but one of you might be able to do a good thing, just like, you know, change it like elephants to like pink now. That'd be cool. I don't know where we'll go with that one. But yes, we had all kinds of things incorporated into this in this environment, and things, as I said, like no permadeath. So the idea that these characters who are used to respawning all the time, suddenly then they have to die for the first time. It's like, oh no, and they start going a little bit crazy and can't exist without the you know, their environment. And even, this is a very strange, but this is the strange parallel I mentioned earlier. Even when we did a short film set in the 1600s about an alchemist who's caught in a time loop.
Okay.
That was partly inspired by me getting kidney stone and being like, this pain is never going to end and I'm going to die. How can I represent this to people? I know.
With the 16th century, yeah, right, okay, that makes perfect sense. No further questions on that.
Again, how do you come up with Cheeseman as a name? How do you come up with this film? Well, let me tell you a ridiculous story.
Have you ever had kidney stones?
Yeah, but weirdly enough, as much as films are a big part of it, I didn't want to be like doing what film had already done. So things about video games came to mind. So part of that story is about going through a loop, learning what you're doing, almost Dark Soulsing it. Well, if I did that, I'm going to try again. I'll do this next time around. On the next loop, I'll do this. It's all subconsciously being put into it. It may not be direct and overt and really obvious, but it's still there. There is one, I'm hesitant to say it because the film isn't out yet. I made a short film, Mireno, which is about two conquistadors who get lost in Central America. They're a part of an expedition party. They go off on their own in the search for gold and God and glory and madness and all this kind of stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah, very video gamey. But the point is, I put a little in-joke in there for myself, completely pointlessly. And the whole point was that the narrative of the story is actually about what's it like being creative, what's it like trying to do this stuff and people following you and going, I just need this one thing from you, etc., etc. But on a little sort of sub-note, I thought, I'm going to make this a Mario movie.
Because that worked so well the last time.
I'd like to think my one's a bit better, but I'm not going to say that. So basically, it was like minor little things. I was like, well, how's that work? So we got a short dude with a big-ass sort of beard going on him, and we got a tall, lanky dude, like, yes. And one's got green stuff, and one's got red stuff, like, right. And this one guy eats a small plant and goes kind of crazy, right. I sort of see what you mean with this.
Plumbing credentials, or?
Conquistador is Spanish for plumber? Maybe. It's not.
No, it's a bricklayer.
No, so it's more just like, again, little things that will amuse me along the way as ideas for things that will go in there as inspiration.
Are there any other direct like Easter eggs in any of your episodes to computer games that you played growing up?
Oh my God. And again, Unlock, there's quite a few. In Super Happy Kill Time, there's a fair amount of hints of things, like with Pokemon especially. There's a Yu Yu Hakusho beat 'em up, and there's some nods to that in there specifically. And even things like, again, we mentioned that in Unlock there's one fight sequence, and back when I had hair, picture it if you will.
I could Photoshop it now, in fact.
I'm
not sure about that. We'll take it away again. Yeah. Change the stats.
Yeah. I decided, I know what I'll do is I'll comb all of this up here like Heihachi, because I do like me some Tekken.
As you said earlier, it's a choice.
Yeah, it was.
It's a bold choice.
It was a bold choice, and again, this was we had this like screening in Norwich with all tons of friends and family, big premiere sort of thing. I'm thinking to myself, oh no, this scene's coming up, and that would be something we'd repeat every single. Whenever you're making things, you tend to, and showing it to other people, you tend to go, oh no, we're showing this to people. But yeah, so there are actually lots of really direct Easter eggs. There's a sort of the proto series that became Unlocked. We had a sequence where my character was possessed effectively.
Okay.
He was sort of take over, and his code sort of hacked effectively, and his girlfriend had to go into his mind, and the way she sort of knocks him out of it, or tries to, is with a braver attack from Final Fantasy VII. And to do this, we created what could be described as the most dangerous prop we've created.
Right.
We have a lot of dangerous props and a lot of bits and pieces, but this was a very, very dangerous one. 2 reasons.
Okay.
1, because it was far too real, and 2, because my wife was holding it. And so we created this thing out of a cricket bat, like a full wooden cricket bat.
Totally safe.
Yeah, again, it's one of you learn very quickly in sort of like early filmmaking days to just go, we'll make this for real. What a stupid idea. So we'd have big wooden frame and cardboard, and we were on top of a disused car park in the rain. I thought,
Gets safer and safer. Health and safety people crying right now watching this.
Exactly, and it was a car park that was, it's still there, but it was being shut down like a couple of weeks later for effectively destruction. And so we were doing this thing, it's like, right, let's do the effective attack over and over, and one big swing at the end. And obviously the camera's on my wife. She's very much giving it a good visual performance, and she lines this thing up and just swings. And she's not looking really at me or the sword or anything. And I can see the footage in my head. The camera goes
You have to
clock.
send me this footage.
Yeah, it goes clock, and I sort of spin off to the side, and there's this almighty, and she goes, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" It's like sort of like when you hit your sibling at a young age. You're right. Don't tell mum. That kind of thing.
Please be okay, because otherwise I'm grounded.
Yeah, and basically what happened was everyone thought, "Oh, is it okay?" So, what happened was the sword caught me here, and my jaw went clock, and I had to sort of pop it back in on set.
Suffering for your art here.
In
So
similar
what
time,
have we learned?
we've learned that it's fine, but be careful, kids. Be careful when you're making films.
Don't make Buster Swords for real.
Yes, and if you are, at least know that the camera is going to, what's called in the industry, cheat it. The camera knows you're not standing literally there. Figure out where the sword is, and then move another bit back, and you know what? The camera will be fine. It's sold in the impact, not in the swing. And
the camera will literally be fine, as in you won't have smashed it into tiny pieces.
No, exactly. So many lessons learned there. But again, it's little bits like that. For example, we got the music comes in, the braver attack. You get the sort of sparking effect and the big Buster Sword, and it's like little things like that. For example, in the background, sort of like at one point we were doing an episode about a zombie infection kind of thing. Well, more importantly, the perception of a zombie infection. And that was a lot of Left 4 Dead references, character names.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you go kind of Resident Evil zombies, or were you going more like Zombies Ate My Neighbors kind of zombies? Plants versus zombies.
Kind of combination of both, really. Yeah, because it's destroying a lot of different things. The idea of like a character who, had toothache and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we literally, I mean, we had an episode where this couple, well, 2 of the characters leave a house and we try and go somewhere else, and they're chased by Pac-Man ghosts because it's a haunted house kind of thing. There's a bit of a Luigi's Mansion sort of thing where they got like a Hoover trying to get rid of them, and a proton pack that we had. So it's so many visual bits and pieces, and as I say, we learned so many lessons about what we can and can't get away with, and what we, the fine line of homage and doing our own original thing, what's funny and what's a little reference, what's a good Easter egg, that kind of thing.
Did you go for the full wacka 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 noise when you had this Pac-Man reference?
Yeah. Could not do it.
You have to. It's just not proper.
It's too iconic not to, yeah. And then again, similar with Super Happy Kill Time, with anime references, it's the idea that, again, lessons learned on Unlocked, sorry. We wanted to make sure that Unlocked could be viewed by people who didn't watch or play video games.
Because things like the Pac-Man sound effects, everyone knows it. You don't have to be a gamer to know some of those classic sounds, to know that collecting stars or, Mario's obsession with getting the coins to pay for the plumbing work he never does. Like, it's stuff that people generally get, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is entered a lot of pop culture references. The cultural footprint of video games is that people know things like power-ups and that sort of stuff, and save points
health
and things.
Bars.
Exactly. And even like loading screens and loading bars are a thing. And that's one thing we've always tried to inject in a lot of our storytelling, whether it's Unlocked or now with Super Happy Kill Time. The idea that it is something that if you don't have any experience with that world, if you're not a gamer, if you don't like anime, it's just a story that is approachable. And there's enough in your sort of consciousness of being alive right now, but you know how these things work. You know bits and pieces, as you say, about power-ups and little rivalries and character selection. People know these sort of phrases, so you're able to put these things in a way that makes the show unique, but also quite approachable.
Yeah, if you get the references, they're there, but you don't need to get all of them to enjoy it. And I think that's something that's makes for a really good show, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah,
I would say it's a really good show, not just because I'm in an episode. It is I wanted to be in an episode because it is a genuinely good, fun show, and because it does have all of those fun, quirky characteristics that people can kind of jump onto, like the wacka 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 sound effect is something that everybody knows. A lot of the things you guys show are things that people can easily relate to. But speaking of the older wacka 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 sound effect, I would like to challenge you to a game. Not to put you on the spot or anything, because obviously I'm not, I could have told you this earlier, but where's the fun in that?
I could have trained.
Yeah.
For weeks.
Well, that would give me even less chance of winning. So instead, I'm springing it on you now.
Okay, I'm ready.
I would like to challenge you to a game of Pac-Man.
Let's do it.
So being you have a series that's a spin-off with ghosts in.
Yes.
This has got ghosts in.
It does, look at them.
It goes wacka wacka wacka. It's the only thing I could think of that vaguely segued off what we were just talking about, because quite frankly, that conversation had got weird. So I would like to challenge you to a Pac-Man challenge.
Okay.
And I've got a choice of a few here. We've got a 1 life one. We've got as many points as you can with 1 life and no power pills.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Or we've got 3 lives. Nah, do you know what? We're gonna go for this one. As many points as you can. 1 life. Power pills are disabled. You cannot eat the ghosts.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let's do that.
Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second?
No, I want you to go first. I want you to show me all the secrets. I can go, do this.
That's unfortunate. However, I have actually interviewed a world champion, world record breaking holding Pac-Man player. Yeah.
Cool.
Which does not mean I know what I'm doing.
I was going to say, did you glean any information?
It means I've spoken to someone who knows stuff.
By proximity, you've gleaned information.
I can sound like I know what I'm doing, is what we've discovered from that. So, let's see how well I can survive.
Are you going D-pad or stick?
We're going D-pad. We're going classic. We're going classic. Oh no, wait, you're going that way. I'm going this way. No.
Right, so 360 is the score to beat.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice number. It's 360, like the Xbox, like filming in 360.
Yeah, I love it.
It's an achievement rather than a failure. Do you think you can beat that?
It would be rude and arrogant to say yes. But I'd like to try. I'd like to try. Okay.
Right, okay, 360, the score to beat. It's a good number. It was more than 0. Oh, you're playing a tactical game.
I don't know if I am. I think I'm impressed.
I mean, it looked like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, that's
Now,
that was the mistake, thinking that I knew what I was doing.
Now, you see, that number is 220.
Which
I
when you want to be
believe.
number 1, you want to get the lower number.
Right. Unfortunately, that's not what we're trying to do here. That's not how the maths works. So I'm afraid I have won, and you will have to leave here in shame.
Right. The exit's over here?
It will be in a second, but first of all, we're going to tell everyone where they can find you. So if people want to find you, to perhaps to mock you for your lack of Pac-Man skills, where can they find you and Cheese Mint online?
I'm on all the various social medias as Stogs, STOGHZ, and that has all the various links to the things. You can search for Cheese Mint on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and etc., all that sort of stuff, to see our web series and all the cool things we make.
Awesome. So go and investigate those things. Now you know why it's called Cheese Mint. Hopefully that won't colour your opinion of it. It's actually genuinely very funny and very, very good. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks.
And for losing that challenge. I appreciate that greatly.
It was the honourable thing to do.
It was indeed. So thank you again. You absolutely rock. And we will see all of you next time.